Hey everyone, I am Red Mariah Petzold, and I'm your local Los Angeles real estate agent and relocation expert. Today we're going to talk about commuting all the way from another state. I know, a little crazy. I asked my friend J Mac to join me today. He is a camera operator in Local 600 out here in Los Angeles, and he has moved about 9 years ago. He moved all the way to Florida, actually, and he is commuting out here to Los Angeles to work in film and television. So we're going to talk about the pros and cons and really what that looks like. Welcome, J Mac. It's so good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Yeah. So for context, J Mac and I have worked on numerous shows, a decade or more ago. So what initially made you move to Florida from Los Angeles?
Our situation was different than a lot of people. It's kind of a sad situation. My wife's younger brother passed from cancer,
Okay.
and she's from Florida. So at that point in time, we have three kids, and we both kind of agreed that it'd be better to be around family. And my mom had moved to Florida. Her mom and dad were still in Florida. Her older brother was in Florida. We moved in one of her dad's houses for about a year and a half. The kids love living there. We're like in the swamp.
That's awesome.
But the environment was different because living here in LA, you are in a bubble. You might not realize it, but you're in a bubble. It doesn't matter where you live in LA. So when we first moved to Florida, we're in a very small town. There was racism that we experienced. There was just very backwoods stuff going on.
So it was kind of a culture shock
A
for the whole family,
big,
essentially.
big culture shock. Yeah. We bought a house in St. Augustine where my wife's other brother lives. And the community there is way more progressive. Finding a group of like-minded people is a big deal when you're moving to a new town. And it was much easier in St. Augustine compared to Floral City, which was the city we had first moved to in Florida.
Right.
So,
Well,
so
larger population,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're a suburb to Jacksonville.
Mm.
So,
Mhm.
a bigger city's close by. It's a beach town, so you've got more of a hippie vibe. That's my biggest advice to anyone that's moving away from LA is just make sure wherever you're moving that you can find a group of like-minded people wherever you're moving.
I think it's so important. It's actually one of the things that I talk about in my Leaving California workshop is the fact that wherever you have your sights set on moving, I feel like you really should go there in the very beginning stages of researching and not just stay in a hotel and be there for a weekend, but be there for a week and stay in an Airbnb. So you're kind of immersed in these neighborhoods and you're really trying to figure out, okay, well, is this a good fit? Because
I
it
mean,
might not be.
you would do the same if you moved somewhere different in Los Angeles.
Sure.
Like there's neighborhoods that it might seem good on paper, but all of a sudden you're there and you're like, oh man, there's a homeless guy living behind in the alleyway and you can't kick him out. Or there's a ton of gang activity here. As far as being having a family, like I totally agree with that. You should experience wherever you're going for a while. We were lucky moving to St. Augustine because her brother's been there for 20 years. When we went to go buy a house, he was like, "Oh, don't buy there because it floods during full moon, or don't buy there because it's the shady part of town." It's either knowing someone that has extensive knowledge of where you're moving, or are experiencing it yourself.
Honestly, JMac, that's like the biggest thing. And that's the first thing that I talk about in the workshop that I do is the fact that you need to make 100% sure that you are ready to make that big relocation because it's nearly impossible to move back.
Oh yeah.
Just because the price of housing, especially if your income has adjusted to the new state, and you're not like a high earning individual like you were in California, then it makes it even more harder to try to afford to buy something or rent something even out here. I know a few people that have really struggled because they've moved and for whatever reason, they decided, oh man, I made a bad choice. I want to move back. And it's hard. It's really hard.
I got a buddy right now. He's sold his house in Sherman Oaks. He made like 700, 800 grand off of the house. Like I think he had bought it in the 400 range, then sold it for like over $1 million.
Okay.
And then they moved out of state, ended up not liking it. And so tried to move back and it couldn't close on a house
Yeah.
for years. Had the money to put down and everything and just could not, like it was getting outbid by corporations by 50 to 100 grand every time. I don't know.
So I'm doing these workshops mostly on Zoom once a month. But I'm doing actually one in person next week here in Saugus. But it's really for a lot of industry people that I know that are either wanting or really having to leave the state and try and make a living doing something, whether it's staying in the industry or not, but having to go. There's just a mass exodus right now out of California. And so I'm trying to help these people. I've moved around. I'm from the East Coast. I've owned property in multiple states because I've been an investor for so long and I've worked with real estate investors so long. I have a really big network and teams in all these different markets. And so I have all these people that I trust and that are already there. And so I feel like that I'm a good person to help families navigate this. And so it's really families that are moving, people that are retired and don't want to
Wow,
try to do this in California anymore. They want to move to places like Florida where there's
affordable.
no income. Yeah, where they
Yeah,
can
yeah.
keep more of their money. They don't, it's not such a big cost of living. Like you said, people in LA that are thinking about it. It's a free workshop that I do on Zoom and always happy to help.
Buying a house is a big deal, no matter
It's a
where you
really
buy.
big deal. Yeah, no matter where you move to, it's a huge, huge deal. It's a
Yeah.
lot of money, the most amount of money that you're probably going to spend in your life. So,
Yes.
yeah.
You're not buying a car for $500 million. Now.
Exactly.
But
Well, let's talk about the working aspect of it because you are essentially commuting from the East Coast all the way back here for a lot of your shows. So how does that work for you?
so it has recently changed. For a good like 6 or 7 years, I had my sister's house to stay at. I had a room there. I didn't pay rent. I would buy them dinner once a week, maybe throw down some cable bills. But recently, they moved. They actually moved and sold their house and bought a nice house outside of Memphis. When I come in, I have to rent a room, which I've worked out here for 24 years now. So put one Facebook post out there, and all of a sudden you got 3 or 4 people like, "Hey, I got room to rent." So it's been harder this go round just because I got to switch from this place and that place.
Okay.
To me, it's worth it because my mortgage in Florida, we finally bought the house in St. Augustine. I bought the house for $270,000.
What? You
We're
can't buy anything out here for that.
Yes, is that so? We're 6 miles from the beach. I threw a little extra down when I did buy the house. My mortgage with all the property taxes and everything is about 1589 right now. But that's for a 5 bedroom, 3 bath, 2,400 square foot house.
Wow.
Like we have central back. Like I didn't even know what central back was when we moved into this house. I was like, wait a second, this is cool. But about the house that I'm living in is probably worth like 480 or something, which is still affordable compared to LA prices.
Oh yeah,
Like
100%. I
like
mean, it's
100,
hard to find. Yeah, you could maybe find a condo somewhere for
yeah, no,
that.
for 480, especially the size of my house, anyone in LA would take that deal in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Really, when you look at the prices of stuff, it makes it affordable to rent a room when I come in town. The only bad thing about it is as soon as I moved away from LA, all my work has been in LA.
All of it. So you're not going to Atlanta, you're not going anywhere
No, no.
locally.
So union wise, I'm technically allowed to work 16-mile radius from my house. So if they shoot a movie in Jacksonville, I could go work on that movie in Jacksonville
Okay.
as a local. They don't have to pay distant hire or anything. Now, you're also allowed in the local 600 to pick a production city. So, me living in Los Angeles for 17 years before I moved was my production city. And because of that, I can come out here and work as a local and they don't have to pay the distant hire. And the rules are if you pick Atlanta as your production city, you have to work only in Atlanta for 18 months.
Wow. Okay.
So that's to keep everyone from LA and New York, invading.
Bouncing around and yeah.
It's as far as anyone moving from the industry here. Sports is a good way to do what we do elsewhere. News, but news doesn't pay as well. What I've experienced in Jacksonville, there's a lot of corporate stuff. So like really if you're still trying to stay in the industry, it's either still come out here and work or New York or Chicago or Atlanta. But really right now Atlanta's dead. I've actually had operators from Atlanta calling me like, hey man, you heard anything? Which has never happened because Atlanta was busier than New York and LA for the longest time.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, what's funny is I actually moved to Los Angeles from Atlanta 20 years ago. Exactly 20 years ago.
oh, that's funny.
And at that point, I moved from Atlanta to LA because Atlanta wasn't busy enough to keep me going. And I was just a single young 22, 22-year-old at that point. I didn't have a family and all of that, but I was traveling around so much between four surrounding states, just trying to pick up whatever I could. I was working corporate events, even anything to try and pay rent. And so I moved to Atlanta. I mean, I moved to Los Angeles because it was busy and I was able to make a living. So it's funny how things change, but Atlanta now, what Marvel just announced, they're moving to the UK, and that was really what put Atlanta on the map. And that happened right after I left. They built all those huge sound stages, and then everything was going to Atlanta
Oh
for the
yeah.
past while now. I mean, it really is chasing
Well,
the.
they had tons of incentives at
Hmm.
that point in time.
Exactly. Yep. And LA can't compare with that. And
Yeah.
across the board this year, all of our productions, the amount of productions is down drastically. And the ones that are filming or going wherever they can get those breaks on
They
cost.
it's very corporate right now. Amazon and Apple. Let's just use them as an example. Amazon, Apple, Netflix, right? Um, Amazon, their TV portion, their movie portion, they it's a write off to them. They make their money being Amazon, delivering packages, like using Prime. That's their main source of money. Same with Apple. Everything they probably spent more money than every other streaming service on TVs and movies these past few years, and have billions of dollars in loss. But it's like 1% of what they actually make. So it's pretty much a write off to them.
Mhm.
And in Netflix, they make all their money off of stocks at this point. If you ask someone if they have a streaming service, Netflix is usually the one they have.
Right.
So they broke the whole system of network television and cable. They broke it. Those three alone. And so now it's very corporate. And it used to be that network would, sometimes I would work on two shows a year that didn't even see air. They made whole shows, spent millions and millions of dollars on whole shows that didn't even air,
Right.
and that's not happening now. So they've become more corporate. They've cut the fat, so you have less TV shows being made, and then a lot of them are, like you said, moving overseas to cut costs. I know that me and you met on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Right.
We were lucky that we even shot in LA this year.
Yeah, Drag Race is still going strong. I know.
Yeah, I don't think that show will go away until Rue doesn't want to do it anymore.
Rue's amazing to work for too.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. No,
yeah, you guys have had amazing judges. Yeah, we had some good judges when I was working on the show, but in the past few years, I'm just so jealous because
Oh,
you worked with some great people.
it's crazy. Like the casting department does a really good job in bringing in people, and they try to make it to where whoever they bring in's a champion for what they're doing. Yeah, I've been really impressed. We got some really good judges coming this year too that I can't talk about, but
Of
it's
course.
some high end A actors have been showing up and actresses, and it's a good show. You know, it really that show in particular it saved a lot of lives.
For sure.
People don't get that. It's saved a lot of lives.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah.
So,
I have fond memories of working on that show.
oh yeah, yeah. That seems like that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, for sure. I've been out of the
Yeah,
business for a minute now.
yeah.
It's wild to think about. I mean, there's not that many shows that go for that long, and it's had longevity. It's had a great audience. It's had
I,
great judges, obviously now, and it's been a wonderful show.
I think this is my 14th or 15th year on that show.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
But
in the past, like in the most recent years, how often would you say that you work in LA versus that you're in Florida, not working, but living in Florida versus working
um,
out here?
it depends, but really, like everything I've been doing is in LA the past 6 years or so. I did the show Jury Duty. That was all in LA. Magic Prank Show. That was in LA.
You're
Time I
coming
haven't.
out for like 6 weeks. You're coming out for how
Oh
long?
no, so I'll come out for Drag Race. I'll drive my car out here. I'm
Oh,
there that.
wow.
So
Okay.
what I usually do is I just leave my car out here. I'll fly home for a month, then come right back and have the car here. In fact, I've done that several years in a row where I'm lucky enough to land back to back stuff with like 3 or 4 weeks off right in the middle of the two.
That makes sense. I mean, yeah, you really do need a car to get around in LA when you're trying to find work and get back and forth.
Well, when I do come out here, if it's like 3 days of work or a week or 2 weeks, a lot of times I'll just rent a car and that'll just be part of my expense. But when I come out here for months at a time, yeah, I drive a Prius. It cost
I
me
do
like
too.
yeah, it cost me like $120 to go from my town to LA.
No.
Yeah, yeah, because it gets more expensive the more west you get.
Absolutely, it does. Yes, it does.
I always make sure I'm like filled to the brim when I leave Florida. So
That makes sense. Yep. Gas is cheaper in Florida.
it's about way cheaper too. But yeah, same with jury duty. I think that was close to 3 months.
Hmm.
So and I almost did that back to back with drag race. So
Oh,
like when
wow.
that's when it's like a lot of FaceTime with the kids. It gets a little rougher when that happens.
Yeah, that's a long time to be away from the fam.
But also I'm taking home way more money than I would have made if I just tried to pick up jobs in Florida.
Mhm.
Last year, I did something similar to that, and then it worked for 3 months.
Right.
I wasn't hurting. Really, in my situation, you have to learn the feast or famine way of doing things. In that way, when you do make a lot of money, you got to sit on it a little bit more and make sure it's going to last, which you should be anyway. But,
Right. Yeah,
but
it's a little harder to do out here,
yes, yeah.
obviously, but
The,
yeah.
the, the major thing that helps out is when I do have downtime and I take a month off to be with the kids or whatever. I work so much in California that I get California unemployment,
Okay.
which is more than Florida unemployment.
Right. Okay.
But I'm able to collect in California because I work here. So the maximum amount you get is like 450 a week. So I'm not working like as I always have in this industry, I collect unemployment because if you're just going to sit around, you might as well get something. That 450 it goes a lot further in Florida than California.
Yeah, well, the only thing about that though is you're still paying California income tax, and that's a big chunk. And it's
Oh, trust me, trust me. You say you have a really, really good week on a good show, they're gonna take they're gonna take a lot.
Mhm.
You know, I just had a big check, and they took like a third of my check, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow. And we'll see, that's another thing in Florida. When I do work in Florida, guess how much they take out my check?
How much?
Nothing, because there's no state income tax.
That's right. That's
So,
why a lot of people move there. That's why all of the retirees move there,
oh
actually.
yeah,
It's because
no.
they're on fixed income and they move there so they can keep more of their money.
The pros of moving away outweigh the cons as far as financials go. The only thing I struggle with is now coming back to LA to work and being away from the family so much. That's the only real struggle with the situation.
Do you know a lot of people in the industry yourself that have moved out of state and are still kind of coming back and forth like you?
Yeah, actually, a director that I met out here that I did It's Florida Man with for HBO Max. When he called me to do that show, he's like, "Guess where I'm at?" I was like, "Where?" He's like, "I'm in St. Augustine." I was like, "Really?" He sold his place in LA and lives in my town now. So I have like a buddy
You
that
have a buddy in the industry.
the industry to hang out with, go fishing with and stuff when I'm back home. My favorite thing about where I live now is that we're in a pretty big neighborhood. And I lived in Canyon Country in Santa Clarita when I did live here. And there was kids around, but we never hung out with any of the neighbors.
Mm.
For the whole time we lived there, it was like we befriended a couple, but like there wasn't kids around like in our neighborhood. Even my youngest was at elementary school there, and like it was like there was not like a core group of people that we hung out with. As soon as we got to Florida, because we're in the bigger neighborhood, um, I think there's 600 homes in our neighborhood with like walking trails and the clubhouse, and I think we have like three basketball courts, three tennis courts, dog park, parks. Like it's very kid friendly. And since we moved there, like my kids have tons of kids they hang out with in the neighborhood, and we have tons of people that we hang out with in the neighborhood. So it's just more finding a neighborhood that's family friendly like that was a huge plus. Now we can't move because my kids, you know, have these lifelong friends they're gonna have.
Sure. Well, how
But
amazing is that though? I mean, you gave them such a new, wonderful opportunity and experience for their whole life growing
it,
up and being in a whole different place that they're thriving.
it's priceless. It's priceless to have my kids have really good friends right there in the neighborhood, to where I trust their parents, they trust us. Like it's gold. I couldn't have thought of a better situation,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So
It makes it worth it, right? It makes it worth it to
yes,
fly out here, be away for a bit.
yeah. And plus now when I come out here, like I get to hang out with my friends without the kids.
I get it. That's awesome. Yeah.
To go to shows and the Dodgers game
Sure.
here, like it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much, J-Mac. I really appreciate you taking the time and talking to us about your life and your experience with relocating.
Yeah. I'm glad you hit me up. It's been a while.
I know. So good to see you.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.